The night was quiet. A thin fog moved slowly over the river. The water was dark and calm, like it was holding a secret. A man stood near the riverbank. He did not speak. He did not move. He held two swords. People watching from far away could not understand him. Why two swords? Why stand so still? His enemy was coming. Everyone knew the enemy was strong. Everyone believed this fight would be long and violent. But the man near the river was calm. His name was Miyamoto, Musashi. At that time, Musashi was not famous. He was not respected. Many people called him strange. Some called him wild. Some called him careless. But they were wrong. Musashi was not careless. He was watching. He watched the wind. He watched the enemy's footsteps. He watched the fear hiding behind brave eyes. When the enemy attacked, Musashi did not rush. He waited. One strike came fast and missed. The second strike ended the fight. The fog swallowed the sound. The river stayed silent. That night, Musashi walked away alone, and no one understood what really made him strong. Musashi was born in a hard time. Japan was full of war. Fighting was normal. Death was close. As a child, Musashi was not special. He was poor. He was rough. He had no master to guide him. Most warriors learned from schools. They followed strict rules. They copied their teachers. Musashi did not. He walked alone. From a young age, he believed one thing. Real strength does not come from copying others. It comes from seeing clearly. He trained without comfort. He slept on the ground. He walked 4 days without food. People laughed at him. They said, "He looks like a beggar, not a warrior." But Musashi did not care. He watched everything. He watched how farmers used tools. He watched how birds attacked from above. He watched how water moved around rocks. Slowly, something changed. While others trained only their bodies, Musashi trained his mind. Most warriors feared being alone. Musashi chose it. He believed silence was a teacher. When the world was quiet, he could hear his thoughts. When his thoughts were clear, his actions became strong. He learned to stay calm under pressure. When fear came, he did not fight it. He watched it. When anger came, he did not follow it. He let it pass. This made him dangerous, because a man who controls himself cannot be controlled by others. As Musashi grew older, his battles increased. He fought many duels. Some were fair. Some were dirty. But one thing stayed the same. Musashi never rushed. While others attacked with emotion, he waited with awareness. People thought speed was power. Musashi learned that timing was power. He used his swords not to show skill, but to show balance. One sword attacked. One sword protected. One part of his mind acted. One part observed. This was not just a fighting style. It was a way of living. But Musashi's life was not easy. He lost battles too. He failed many times. He made mistakes. And when he failed, he did something different. He did not make excuses. He did not blame fate. He asked one question: what can this teach me? Every loss became a lesson. Every mistake became a guide. This mindset made him unstoppable, because while others feared failure, Musashi used it as years passed. His name spread. People whispered about him. Some feared him. Some admired him. But Musashi did not chase fame. He chased understanding. He wrote. He painted. He thought deeply about life. In his later years, he wrote a book. It was not about swords only. It was about mastering yourself. He believed that the greatest battle is inside the mind. If you win that battle, the world becomes easier. This is where Musashi's secret begins, not with strength, not with weapons, but with presence. He was always where he was, fully focused, fully aware. When he walked, he walked. When he fought, he fought. When he rested, he rested. No distraction, no confusion. This is why he stayed calm when others panicked. This is why he saw openings when others saw chaos. Today, people face different battles. No swords, no duels, but the pressure is the same. Fear, doubt, anger, distraction. Most people react without thinking. They rush. They break under pressure. Musashi would say, do not rush. Observe first, because a calm mind sees clearly, and a clear mind makes strong decisions. This is only the beginning. Musashi's method was not magic. It was simple, but it was deep. It started with silence, with observation, with learning to stand alone. In the next part, you will learn how Musashi used solitude to sharpen his mind and gain an advantage others never had. Because the man who can be alone without fear is already stronger than most. The forest was quiet, no voices, no footsteps, only wind moving through the trees. Musashi sat alone on the cold ground. His swords rested beside him, untouched. Days had passed since his last fight. His body was tired. His clothes were worn, but his mind was awake. Most men feared. Moments like this, silence made them uncomfortable. Loneliness made them weak. Musashi welcomed it, because silence was where he became strong. When Musashi walked alone through mountains and villages, people did not understand him. They asked, why do you stay alone? Why don't you join a school? Why don't you learn from a master? Musashi never answered. He believed something different. If you cannot sit with yourself, you cannot face the world. So he chose solitude. During his long journeys, Musashi watched everything. He watched how a leaf fell slowly, then suddenly changed direction. He watched how a bird waited before attacking. He watched how water stayed soft, but broke stone over time. These small things taught him more than loud teachers ever could. He learned that strength was not loud. It was quiet. It waited. One evening, Musashi stopped near a small village. People were training with swords. They moved fast. They shouted loudly. They looked powerful. But Musashi noticed something. They were not watching each other. They were only attacking. Their minds were busy. Their bodies were tense. Musashi turned away. He did not need noise to learn. That night, he sat near a fire. He closed his eyes. He listened to his breath. At first his mind was restless. Thoughts attacked him like enemies. Fear of death. Memory of failure. Doubts about his path. But Musashi did not fight these thoughts. He watched them. Slowly, they lost power. This was his real training. Musashi learned that the mind is like a wild horse. If you pull it hard, it fights you. If you observe it calmly, it settles. This skill changed everything. In fights, he stayed calm. In danger, he stayed clear. While others panicked, Musashi waited, and waiting gave him victory. There was one duel people talked about for years. His enemy was famous, strong, confident before the fight. The enemy insulted Musashi. "You look weak," he said. "You dress like a fool." People laughed. Musashi smiled gently. He did not react, because reaction is weakness. When the duel began, the enemy attacked fast, very fast. The crowd believed Musashi was finished, but Musashi had already seen this moment. He had watched fear before. He had watched anger before. This attack was nothing new. He stepped aside calmly. One clean move. The fight ended. The crowd was silent. After the duel, someone asked Musashi, "How were you so calm?" Musashi replied simply, "I practiced silence before noise." Silence trained his eyes. Silence trained his mind. Silence trained his heart. He learned to see small signs, a tight jaw, a rushed breath, a shaking hand. These signs told him everything. Most people today live in noise. Noise of phones, noise of opinions, noise of fear. Their minds are always busy, always tired. Musashi would say, noise steals your power. When your mind is loud, you cannot see clearly. When you cannot see clearly, you make weak decisions. Musashi used solitude not to escape life, but to understand it. He believed that before leading others, you must first lead yourself, and leadership starts in silence. As years passed, Musashi became sharper, not because he trained harder, but because he trained smarter. He did not waste energy. He moved only when needed. This made him unpredictable, dangerous. One winter, Musashi stayed alone in a cave. Snow covered the ground. Food was scarce. His body suffered, but his mind became strong. In that cave, he understood something important. Comfort makes people weak. Discomfort makes people aware. This lesson stayed with him forever. Musashi was not cruel to himself. He was honest. He faced discomfort by choice, and choice gave him control. This is where his method grows deeper. Silence was not the end. It was the foundation. From silence came clarity. From clarity came strategy. In the next part, you will learn why Musashi used to swords, and how holding two opposite ideas made him unbeatable in battle and powerful in life. Because true strength is not one-sided, it is balanced. The crowd watched in confusion. No one had seen this before. Musashi stood in the center of the ground, calm and silent. In his left hand was a short sword. In his right hand was a long sword. People whispered, "Why two swords? Is he trying to show off? Will this make him slower?" Musashi did not answer. He was not here to impress. He was here to win. Most warriors believed in one way only. One sword, one style, one method. Musashi believed this was dangerous. When you follow only one path, you become easy to predict. He wanted freedom, and freedom came from balance. Musashi learned this lesson not from battle, but from life. He noticed that strong men often became rigid. They trusted only one habit. They rejected other ideas. Musashi did the opposite. He learned to hold two ideas at the same time: attack and defense, speed and patience, power and softness. This thinking shaped his fighting style. When Musashi trained, he did not train like others. He practiced with heavy swords to build strength. Then he practiced with wooden swords to build control. Sometimes he moved fast. Sometimes he moved very slow. He believed the body must understand contrast, because without contrast, there is no choice. One day Musashi watched two men fight. One was fast, but careless. The other was slow, but strong. They attacked again and again. Finally, both were exhausted. Musashi understood something important. Both men were half complete. That day, the idea of two swords became clear. In battle, the long sword controlled distance. The short sword controlled close space. If the enemy came near, Musashi was ready. If the enemy stayed far, Musashi was ready. There was no weak position, but the two swords were not only weapons, they were symbols. One sword was action. One sword was awareness. One sword moved. One sword watched. This made Musashi dangerous, because while his body fought, his mind stayed calm. Many warriors fought with emotion. Anger made them strong for a moment, but weak in the next. Fear made them. Musashi did not choose emotion. He chose awareness. There was a famous duel. Musashi arrived late on purpose. His enemy was angry. The enemy's breath was fast. His eyes were tense. Musashi noticed everything. He had not even drawn his swords. Yet the fight began. The enemy attacked wildly. Musashi stepped back. One sword blocked. The other waited that. Then at the perfect moment, Musashi struck. The duel ended quickly. People did not understand what happened, but Musashi did. After the fight, he said quietly, "When the enemy uses one mind, use two." This idea was not limited to fighting. Musashi used it in life. When things went well, he stayed careful. When things went bad, he stayed hopeful. He did not allow success to blind him or failure to break him. This balance made him steady. Most people today live with one mind only. They either work too hard or give up too fast. They either think too much or act without thinking. Musashi's way was different. Think and act. Act and observe. Always both. He believed that a strong life needs two modes. One mode to build. One mode to correct. Without correction, effort is wasted. Without effort, ideas are useless. Musashi trained this balance daily. He would fight intensely, then sit in silence. He would write, then walk without thinking. This kept his mind sharp and his ego small. Over time, his enemies became confused. They could not read him. They could not predict his next move. This was his true advantage. Musashi wrote later in his teachings, "Do not let your spirit be one-sided, because one-sided people break easily. Balanced people adapt." In modern life, this lesson is powerful. When pressure comes, do not rush. Observe when opportunity comes. Do not hesitate. Act. This is the way of two swords. But Musashi knew something. Else. Balance alone was not enough. Ideas mean nothing if they are not tested. In the next part, you will learn how Musashi used failure as training, and why he believed that real growth comes from testing yourself again and again. Because the strongest people are not those who avoid failure, but those who learn from it. Failure followed Musashi like a shadow. People only remembered his victories, but Musashi remembered every mistake, every wrong step, every late movement, every moment he misjudged an enemy. He did not hide from these memories. He studied them. One rainy evening, Musashi walked alone after a difficult fight. He had one, but barely. His breath was heavy. His hands shook. He knew something had gone wrong. Most men would celebrate the win. Musashi did not. He sat down under a tree and replayed the fight in his mind. Where did I rush? Where did I hesitate? Why did I lose control? This was his real training. Musashi believed one rule. If you do not test yourself, you lie to yourself. He did not trust comfort. Comfort made people weak. Comfort hid the truth. So Musashi chose hard tests. He fought stronger enemies. He fought in bad weather. He fought when tired, not to punish himself, but to understand himself. Pressure shows the real person. There was a duel. Musashi lost early in his life. His enemy was older and wiser. Musashi attacked too. Fast. One mistake. He was thrown to the ground. Pain burned through his body. People laughed. Musashi did not forget. That loss stayed with him for years, but it did not break him. It shaped him. From that day, he learned speed without control is weakness. Musashi changed his training. He slowed down. He practiced movements until they felt natural. He practiced when tired, because tiredness showed weakness. Each mistake became a lesson. Each lesson became strength. Most people fear failure. They avoid it. They hide from it. Musashi walked toward it because he knew something important. Failure is honest. It shows what needs to change. As Musashi grew stronger, his tests became harder. He fought famous fighters. He challenged respected schools, not for pride, but for truth. Each fight was an experiment. When he lost focus, he noted it. When he felt fear, he observed it. When anger appeared, he controlled it. This made him calm under pressure. Musashi once said, "A man who never fails never learns." In his later years, Musashi wrote his lessons down. He believed knowledge must be practical, not beautiful words. Not empty ideas, only what works. This is why his method survived. It was tested by life. In modern life, people avoid discomfort. They stay safe. They repeat easy habits, Musashi would say. Safe paths create weak spirits. Growth needs challenge. Testing does not mean danger. It means honest effort. Speak when afraid. Try when unsure. Continue when tired. These are modern duels. Musashi tested his mind daily. He would wake early, train hard, reflect quietly. He asked himself one question each night. What did today teach me? Over time, fear lost its power, because fear only lives when it is not faced. Musashi faced it. This discipline made him different. When others broke under pressure, he stayed steady. When others blamed fate, he adjusted. This is why he never stopped growing. But Musashi knew one thing. Testing without direction is chaos. Effort without purpose is empty. In the final part, you will learn how Musashi united presence, purpose, and mastery into one path. A path not just for warriors, but for anyone who wants to become the strongest version of themselves. The cave was silent. Only the sound of Musashi's breath filled the air. He was old now. His hair was thin. His body was slow, but his mind was clear. Very clear. Musashi sat alone with ink and paper. His swords rested against the wall. He no longer needed them. The greatest battles were already won, not on the ground, but inside. Throughout his life, Musashi had walked a hard path. He chose silence when others chose noise. He chose balance when others chose extremes. He chose testing when others chose comfort. Now, near the end, he saw the full picture. Musashi understood that strength was never about fighting others. It was about mastering yourself. A man who controls his emotions cannot be controlled by the world. He thought about his younger days, the fear, the hunger, the loneliness. At the time, it felt painful. Now, it felt necessary. Those moments built his presence. Presence was Musashi's greatest weapon. When he stood fully. When he listened fully. When he acted without doubt. His mind did not wander. This made every move powerful. Musashi believed most people live half their lives. Their bodies are in one place, but their minds are somewhere else. Worrying, regretting, fearing. This splits there. Strength. Musashi stayed whole, but presence alone was not enough. He needed purpose. Without purpose, power becomes empty. Musashi did not fight for fame. He did not fight for money. He fought to understand the way of life, to learn truth, to master his spirit. This purpose guided him. When life became hard, purpose kept him moving. When he felt tired, purpose gave meaning to pain. Purpose turned struggle into growth. Musashi knew this deeply as an old man. Musashi wrote his final teachings, not as commands, but as guidance. Simple, clear, he wrote. Do not let your heart cling to anything. Attachment creates fear. Fear creates weakness. He also wrote, know the way broadly. Learn from everything, from success, from failure, and most importantly, perceive what cannot be seen with the eye. This was presence. Musashi did not want followers. He wanted thinkers, people who could walk their own path. Today, the world is different. There are no swords, but the battles remain. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of being alone. Musashi's path still works. Sit in silence, observe your mind, balance action with thought. Test yourself honestly. Choose a purpose. Strength grows naturally from these steps. No rush, no force. Musashi's life teaches one final truth. You do not become strong in one moment. You become strong through daily choices, small ones, quiet ones, as the sun set. Musashi placed his brush down. His work was complete. He felt no regret. Only, calmed up, he had mastered himself. And in doing so, he mastered life. This is Musashi's secret. Not a technique, not a weapon. A way of being. The path is open to anyone, if you are willing to walk it.